Umbrella Academy does have its problems, but there's a decent number of things that it manages to excel at. Most of the things I enjoyed about the show are interspersed among my complaints in the previous videos I've made in this series. I don't want to repeat myself too much. I just want to briefly mention some of the other aspects of the show that I found admirable that I couldn't fit into my other videos for one reason or another. This video isn't going to go in depth into the stuff that I like. It's mainly just going to be some short explanations of some of the things I enjoyed that I didn't mention in my other videos. We'll start with the small details. There's a fair bit of small details throughout the show that don't necessarily add a ton to the story of the characters, but do help to show that some extra care was put into certain scenes by whoever worked on them. I think that's worth recognizing and appreciating, so I'd like to highlight some of those details. In the first episode of the show, when we're shown the adult members of the Umbrella Academy, you can see that each character has something around them that correlates with the number they were assigned by Reginald. With Luther, his moon base is labeled Moon Station 1. With Diego, there's two shining lamps in the background. He's entering a home to rescue a family. With Allison, there's a backdrop that shows that she's promoting Love on Loan 3 on a red carpet. With Klaus, he catches the news of his father's death on Channel 4. With Vanya, this might be a bit of a stretch, but she's in front of 9 lights as she's performing on stage. Out of the 9 lights, 7 of them are shining brightly while the rest are dimly lit. It's not too clear, but I think this is the best shot to show that. In that same episode, when Vanya's at the house, she sees a terribly photoshopped picture of the young Umbrella Academy in front of the White House with the tagline, Wonder Kids, and a short story at the bottom. I read through it, and it seems that the short stories are reported the day that the Umbrella Academy stopped a bank robbery and were introduced to the world as superheroes by Reginald Hargreaves. We get to see how those events played out later in this episode. I'm sure this has been mentioned a million times at this point, but the review we see on the back of Vanya's book is written by Gerard Way, who was the lead vocalist for My Chemical Romance and the co-creator of the Umbrella Academy comics. I already mentioned this before, but I'll repeat it here. When Vanya talks to Pogo about 5, Pogo says that she used to leave out peanut butter and marshmallow sandwiches in case 5 ever came back.
I always used to leave the lights on for him. So every night I'd make a little snack and make sure all the lights were on.
I'm pretty sure I stepped in half those peanut butter and marshmallow sandwiches.
And when 5 does come back, the first thing he prepares himself is a peanut butter and marshmallow sandwich. Additionally, the siblings are dancing to I Think We're Alone Now. The camera focuses on Vanya when the lyrics of the song switch to thus foreshadowing Vanya's eventual escape when she uses the sound of her own heartbeat to break out of her confinement. Another small detail is that in the 6th episode of the first season, Luther and Allison dance to the song Dancing in the Moonlight. The events of that day get erased, and the day starts over again in the next episode. Allison and Luther briefly separate at the start, and as they do, the beginning piano notes of Dancing in the Moonlight are played in the background. Which serves to show what's been lost by 5 as a ratio of that day. I don't know if this is deliberate or just coincidental, but there's a minor emphasis on the number 5 when it comes to 5's character. When the handler makes a deal with him in the post-apocalyptic future, she offers him 5 years of service.
I could actually leave here.
In return for 5 years of service.
And when the commission sends a group of people to capture 5, the number of people that make up this group and attempt to apprehend 5 by the end of the first episode is also 5. We get a nice bit of foreshadowing when Grace is embroidering something that ends up looking like a circle with a piece of it broken off, similar to how the moon ends up looking when Vanya blows a hole through it and inadvertently sends a large chunk of it down to Earth. When introduced to the adult versions of the Sparrow Academy, we see that Sloan is reading a book called The Jet Set Life, which is obviously supposed to be a nod to The Jet Set Life is Gonna Kill You song by My Chemical Romance. When we meet Abigail Hargreaves for the first time in the 4th season of the show, she's playing a rendition of the same melody that Vanya played right before she blew up the moon as the white violin at the end of the first season. This is probably supposed to foreshadow her being a villain, a fact that gets revealed in the later episodes. There's a running joke in the show that 5 is never able to get a decent cup of coffee.
Jesus, who do I gotta kill to get a decent cup of coffee? Who's Colombian?
It's my own blend.
And that stays consistent in the final season when 5 meets another version of himself who tells him that he's not going to like the coffee he's offered.
Oh, you're not gonna like that.
Which, funny enough, was also served by another version of himself. At the end of the series finale, we see a field with a bunch of characters who've come to know across their another show. Among them are Lila's family, Claire, Hazel and Agnes, Grace, the Swedes, Gabriel Barr, who happens to be the co-creator and the illustrator of the Umbrella Academy comics, the handler, Herb, Dot, and all of Steve Blackman, who's the showrunner for the Umbrella Academy. The next thing I'd like to praise is some of the visual effects in the show. I'm not a VFX or special effects artist, so my praise is going to be very superficial. Even though the quality of the visual effects takes a bit of a dive in some scenes, in the 3rd and 4th seasons, most of the visual effects are done really well throughout the course of the show. The representation of all of the siblings' abilities is done rather well. Five's time jumping and blinking, Vanya's transformation to the white violin, Ben's ghostly form and torso tentacles, Allison's rumors, Klaus's reanimation and conjuring, they all look great. In addition, the imagery to do most of the apocalypses is so visually appealing that it makes me want to add them to my wallpaper sometimes. The sequence of bright red and orange flames spreading across the entire planet like a shockwave is really cool. Especially this one shot of the building lights all going out, leaving behind a pitch black night that's immediately illuminated by the flames that soon engulf the buildings. The appearance of the sky and the entire area around the Hotel Obsidian during the events of the Kugel Blitz is also quite mesmerizing. The consistency and the quality of Pogo's appearance is something that I also think deserves a lot of praise. The show has a talking chimpanzee that gets nailed to a wall, does martial arts, rides a motorcycle, and pilots a jet, and at no point do the visual effects surrounding him look wonky to me. I think that's fairly impressive. From what I saw, the special effects also seem to remain consistently good throughout the show, even though it does vary in size every now and then. Losing those gorilla suits still doesn't look incredibly ridiculous by the end of the show. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure what I'm about to mention falls under cinematography or not. I just need to describe some of the visual elements of the show that I find to be good and don't entirely have to do with visual or special effects. The show has a really nice way of filming certain scenes that just makes them look visually appealing. There are a few shots in particular that I can think of that I think illustrate this. The first when the handler shows up and stops time in the first season so she can have a conversation with Five. When Five is frozen, it looks like there's a yellowish filter on top of everything, which kind of makes it appear as if everything is frozen in amber. It really helps add to the stopping time effect. The second when the handler recruits Lila to join the commission and begins training her. During the training montage, there's a shot where Lila is dodging the bullets being fired by the handler while going through an obstacle course, and as Lila does a cartwheel, the camera rolls with her. I think that really helps to emphasize how entire life was turned upside down after the handler had her parents murdered. It's small, but I think it's neat. The third thing is pretty much all the Umbrella transition scenes we get before the start of each episode. A lot of them are really creative, and it's always cool to see how they're going to be integrated into a scene. My personal favorite is the one with Jennifer incident. The way the blood and Jennifer's dress come together to form this shape of an umbrella is pretty amazing. I'm not much of a connoisseur when it comes to music choices. Right now, I'm one of those people who just puts all the music they like into a giant playlist labeled songs. Taking that into consideration, I think the music in this show is the one thing that I didn't have any issues with, even by the end. And yes, that does include the Baby Shark soundtrack. It was annoying and catchy, which I assume was the point of it. But like I said, my opinion on music isn't something that ought to be considered insightful in any manner. All I can say is that I like Run Boy Run as Five jumps to the future. I like House of the Rising Sun as Harlan kills all the mothers. I like Cats in the Cradle during Klaus's reanimation training, and I like most of the other song choices in the show. The dance numbers in the show are also quite fun to watch. I find I Think We're Alone Now to be much better than Footloose, but that's mainly because I like it better as a song. The show is pretty funny early on. It takes a lot of swings with its jokes, and at least with me, the jokes hit more times than they miss.
Oh, there's Diego.
Imagine Batman, then aim lower.
She loves me.
Yeah, you know what? Love shouldn't have to hurt this much. All right, I tried.
There's something I have to show you. Something big.
Sweetheart, your vagina needs glasses. He is not worth it.
What the hell is the point of that story?
Is frogs are bitches, and we do not negotiate with terrorists.
Is that okay that I don't hate you like I hate most people?
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay by me.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
I don't understand you! You don't know anything about
I know
me.
everything about you. You are an open book written for very dumb children.
This obviously gets less true the further in you go, unfortunately. However, during those early seasons, the characters were quite funny. Most of the comedy stemmed from Klaus, but a lot of the other characters, like Five and Lila, were able to deliver a fair bit of levity through the interactions with other characters. Majority of the cast members also did a really good job portraying these characters. Five, of course, is the standout. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It's impressive how, despite being the youngest person in the main cast, Aidan Gallagher is able to perfectly act like he's several years older and wiser than the rest of his co-stars. I guess those years on Nick, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn really paid off. I actually watched that show. It wasn't bad. I watched every single episode. Aired on Nickelodeon. It was weird. Anyway, those are the main things I want to talk about in this video. Now, obviously, what I've covered isn't exhaustive of everything that was good about the Umbrella Academy, but like I said, most of my opinions regarding certain elements I enjoyed can be found in my other 4 videos, primarily the plot video. You can check out those videos if you want to hear my thoughts on other areas of the show. Finally. This series took way longer than I thought it would to complete, but my gosh, I'm glad I saw it through. Like I said in the preamble of my first video, my next series is probably going to be on an anime. I don't think it'll take us long to make as this series did though. I will say that one thing this project has helped me out a lot with is giving me something to focus on. Things haven't exactly been going great the last few months, so it was nice to have this mess of a show to dissect and partly act as a distraction for a while. Now, it's on to the next distraction, I guess. As usual, sorry for the audio and any editing mistakes, but it's all I can work with right now. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe if you want to help out my channel, and well, bye.